going to start with Mendy. This is such a really interesting case, and dynamics that are actually very common that you're going to see in your work. So this was a great case to start with. As you know, I'm going to start with asking you questions, and I'm going to just go around the group. I'm not going to just ask for one person to do all the answering. So I'm going to ask, I want to ask Eddie, Eddie, when, you know, Mendy's sort of, you know, in many ways, self-conscious, maybe some perfectionistic tendencies. Demonstrate how you would get buy-in to mindful choice with Mendy.
Hello, everyone. Yes, Mendy has lots of issues going on in his life. So as a group, we decided that we would tell Mendy that we have like a unique toolbox that combines both the holistic approach that which provides support such as mental, physical, and emotional needs in our M3 centers. And we combine the mindful choice psychology as well with other tools. And we would recommend Mendy to unhook from the past, to open his mind, and to think in a transformative way, leaving behind the worries of why things happen to him, and being aware of what keeps him stuck in the past, and past to negative experiences, and preventing him to address what's going on. And we would also suggest Mendy to use BAUD resonance therapeutics along with mindful choice, sort of like to speed up the process and complement the process. And we would tell him about the beneficial studies that we have, background, all of these resonance therapeutics that would be much beneficial for him.
Okay, so Eddie, how would you explain what how it's mindful choice is different from other types of therapy?
I would tell Mendy that with mindful choice, we're going to be doing like complementing, looking at both emotional and using unique tools that other techniques won't be able to provide him. And also that with mindful choice, we're going to look more deep into how to develop his emotions, how to lead back whatever is grabbing him, holding him back, and not moving forward. And with that, we're going to be working along with him, not only like a normal regular therapy that would be available for him, but more like a unique holistic therapy that would be beneficial for him.
Okay, thank you. All right, I like the holistic approach that you've mentioned. I want to just ask Sarah Devora, can you add on to that? Pretend you're talking to Mendy and explain like the key principles of destination and to Mendy, and how he can sort of change the way he thinks, thinking about thinking, metacognition. So I'm going to ask you to go ahead and pretend that you're speaking to Mendy.
Okay. Mendy, it's clear that you are not happy. If you are here, it's because you want to expect different results. So there is only one way to get something different, and it's to stop, to think, and to act in a different way, to think out from the box. Because if we continue doing the same thing, you cannot expect a different result. So your method works in your company. You are very successful. but your problem is about your emotions. Mastering that is our mission, and we can help you to do that by helping you to think in a different way when you can visualize your future, because we need to start setting a destination. And then with our background design, we will achieve little steps, because that's the way to keep you motivated when you can see clearly that you are advancing. Remember that change is the clue of everything, and change takes time. It's a process. That's why we have a 4-step process. So little by little, by focus always in the green door, because we need to teach you how to know that you have always a choice, and there is a green door and a red door, and what brings you to your destination is always the green door, because that brings you closer. So that's the difference, and that's what we want to teach you. We are not psychologists. We want to coach you, because what we do is to set specific goals for you. So we work together. It's a team. We do our part, but you need to work on that, because change is not a miracle that you get from one day to the next day.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful way of explaining that. So thank you so much for that was very positive. That's what I like about both of you, Addie, Sarivora, that you really try to be positive and uplifting, because
That's what we think.
well, this
Positive.
is positive, yes, and we're also looking towards the future. Okay, together, we're looking towards the future together. All right, who wants to take the third question? How would you please explain and pretend again like I'm Mendy, explain the evoke cards, and you're going to introduce the evoke cards into the session with Mendy and explain the concepts. We're going to start with your group chose 28 first. So who wants to take this next?
I will love Coti to do that.
I can explain. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Coti.
I would like to explain, Mandy, that we have a very powerful, iconic images, that those images can symbolize for him a big idea. Is a very powerful way of transferring messages, because the message is very, it's like the metaphor. A metaphor is a very powerful tool. So with those cards, he can get a very powerful message, and every one of these evoke cards can have a clue for him from where to start changing his way of thinking, way of feeling, way of behavior. And I think it's a very important tool to explain to a client that we don't expect that they don't need to make big changes, because big changes, we are afraid of big changes. And we go back to the same we did before. And Mandy is doing this for 20, 30 years. So it's very easy for him to go back. So to go with him, to coach, as Sarah said and Etty said, to go hand by hand, slowly, with small steps, and to let him see and confront a new way of perceiving his own reality. We don't change the environment. It's not in our hands. We can change with our attitude. So I think this is a very powerful way of translating messages and to grasp them.
Oh, Cody, that's beautiful. And
Thank you.
I also think you have so many insights to share. And I'm glad you chose this set of questions for you. So what if you sense Mendy's resistance in working through painful issues, or resistance in using the cards? Tell me how you're going to address that.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Oh, sure. It's right here on can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So tell me, what if you sense Mendy's resistance in working through the painful issues and you're trying to use the cards? Tell me how you're going to deal with his resistance.
What we saw as a group, that one of the main things is Mendy is difficult for him to unhook the past. He is living as a child with a painful experience as a little child, and it's difficult for him to get here and now, difficult for him to stop doing the same he's doing until now. That's why we have this Evo card, to work with him about conceiving, visualizing a new destination. What is Mendy's destination? What he wants really as a grown-up adult, not as a poor child, as a miserable child. To start thinking about, if you want a destination, we can have many journeys. And this is also a very good idea, because sometimes our destination, it could be very hard for him to grasp. So let's imagine with him how it could be another journey for getting to that destination. What Sarah said before, binary choice. Don't think about what you don't want. Think about what you want, what you need. Your main purpose in life is not to blame your mother. You all the time you are blaming your mother. You step on the same place. You don't move. So let's go as a grown-up adult. Positive thinking, as Sarah and Etty said, your past doesn't determine your future. Let's go on. Focusing what you said on the solution. You end up where you look. I think what Sarah said before is tunnel vision effect. He's looking all the time, focused on the problem and your attitude. One of the things we discuss in the group is, could Mendy think about one thing good that he has thanks to his mother? Maybe not all of the bad things is from her. Could you think about one thing that is good? Maybe that change he did, that he is a very successful adult, something he can grasp from his mother. So we thought that those could be the Evo cards, main Evo cards to work with him.
That's beautiful. So well explained, Cody. Thank you so much. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. All right.
Terry, something very short.
Yes,
Remember that Mendy is a lawyer.
This
So,
is
as a lawyer, he's very methodic.
Yes.
So I guess that's the way also to introduce a Evo card, because it's a method. We are not talking about blah, blah, blah. All mindful choice is about a process, a step by step. So I am sure he will understand the language of being methodic, to set a goal and to fight to achieve it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely. And each client is unique. And what Sarah Devora just explained is so true, and it's so powerful, because you want to join together with your client. You want to find commonality. You want to, well, in psychology, we call it a therapeutic stance. But in coaching, you also have to find something that they can grab onto, that intellectually they can understand. And, smart people, professional people often intellectualize. And if you can walk them through the logic of this and join with them, even if they say, I've never done therapy before, I've never done coaching before. This is one way of making them feel confident that this is the right choice for them to work with you, and that this approach is going to actually be effective. So I like how, yes, he has the methodology of a lawyer and he wants that, and they want to see where this is going. That's great. So so I have not chosen Ari. Ari, can you pretend that you're talking to Mendy and provide Mendy with supportive feedback that he was bringing up in session? I know Cody started that, but about his conflicting feelings he's bringing up and how to switch that and change on goals and choices rather than sticking to his anger and sticking to his resentment.
Hi everybody. I think I for this point I would suggest, I mean if I speak with him, so I would say, Mendy, it's very important to understand how a person is built, how we work, what parts we have. So we have a brain, a mind, we have our feelings and our acts, and they are ordered in that order. First come our thoughts, then our feelings, and then our acts. So if something is conflicting you, it might be that actually your feelings don't match your no, I will say like that. I think your thoughts actually maybe are not clear about things, and maybe there are things that you still don't process, or you think in a certain way that make you feel like that. But if we change our minds, our thoughts, so your feelings will change. And that's what we are working for. That's what we're trying to do. Well, I don't know if that was a question. But,
you know, one of the things you can do in the supportive feedback is use cards, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the brain versus emotion card that you can use, right? So I can tell you it's really helpful if you can't think of the words. You can have the cards right next to you. And for yourself, as a clinician, or as a provider, you can use the cards for yourself to know, have the cues for what to say in terms of support and where to go with the session if you're in the situation where you don't know what to say to Mendy, for example, or if you can't find the right words, okay? So that explains it visually. It gives you an anchor as well as the client an anchor.
May I say something, Sherry?
Yes, please.
In exactly what said Ari is correct, but not complete. Because what you need to explain to Mendy is, first, we have emotion, and we react to our emotion. And our emotions are in the brain, they are very quick. And the emotion can be based in the past, in the whatever have been happening in our past. It comes to a very strong emotion. The feeling comes after the thought, but the thought is in the mind. So you need to, and then if I change the way I think, I will change the way I feel and the way I act. But the first step for Mendy is to say, look, you're a very intelligent guy, but you cannot engage your intelligence until you don't let your emotion to guide your way of thinking. And that's the first step for Mendy, because Mendy have his emotion acting, choosing the reaction he will do on everything. So first, we need to make a disconnect for Mendy and show him that he is very skillful on intelligence, on method, on everything when it's work, because he does not engage his feeling into that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's his private life, the first thing which comes are his feeling and his emotion. And the emotion are coming for different reasons. I don't want to speak about that now. I will speak maybe to that later, but let's start with the difference between emotion and thought. And it's a very first step to show him that if he thinks as well as he does in his professional life, he will be able to be successful. But if he continues to have emotion of his childhood, he will not be able to go. And it's as simple as that. What do you think, Harry?
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Good. I'm happy you agree.
Thank you so much, Gerard. One of the things I want just to remind everyone, I went through this in one of the trainings last month. You can always go back to emotions as an alarm system, especially with people who are like Mendy, okay, and maybe they have difficulty accessing their emotions. They have poor emotional communication. You can always ask the client, what are these emotions trying to tell you? Okay, and what are they alerting you to? And then this is a way of, they're going to start, then that's how you get them to think about the what, not the why. All right. When you ask them that kind of a question, what is this alerting you to? What are these emotions trying to tell you? Go for the what questions. So I'm going to shift it now to our last question. I'm going to go back to Eddie. So Eddie, you mentioned at the top about BAUD. So can you pretend that you're talking to Mendy right now? Tell us how you would introduce BAUD. And you started about resonance therapy. Tell us how you would introduce BAUD to Mendy. And when would you introduce BAUD?
So Mendy, I would suggest you to start using BAUD alongside with the treatment, not before, not after, but during. It's gonna come during the course of the treatment. And the reason why I would like you to use BAUD is because BAUD is a resonance therapeutic tool that uses binaural pulse modulator, and that does some kind of changes in your brain. It's gonna be doing different you're gonna be hearing different frequencies, and those waves are gonna be influencing your brain activity and resulting in improving your cognitive performance. Also, we would expect for you to be reducing your stress and anxiety by using BAUD. So for all of these benefits, I would like you to start using BAUD. Also, it's a very simple training that I would like to give you for you to be able to modulate yourself with BAUD. I'm not gonna have to be next to you while you use BAUD. It's a very simple tool that you're gonna be able to regulate by yourself, and you're gonna be able to also use it outside of the office while you wait in the comfort of the outside of the office. It doesn't have to be next to me. So that's also one of the benefits why I would like you to start using it. And as I said before, it's going to be alongside of hand by hand in the treatment. It's not going to be separate from the mindful choice program.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to I have one more thing. So I want Ari, explain to Mendy the logic of this and how it works, because he's a logical guy.
The way I explain it is like this. I would say, Mendy, the brain works with waves. I mean, what are waves? It's electrical activity. And that activity can be represented by waves. So when you listen to certain frequencies, that can resonate with your waves. So if you think in a happy and pleasant situation or idea or something, those specific waves can be increased by the BAUD. So if you find the frequencies of those waves with a pleasant thought, so you can increase them and make it stronger. So you can get better feelings faster. And that can really help in the process.
Okay, oh,
You know,
that's a nice way, like how you said the waves. Go on,
Yeah.
so who's talking? Yeah.
What?
if I could add something, sometimes I try to help my clients understanding BAUD, telling them that it's like physiotherapy. The same, they can help you to educate your voice. You can train your voice and have a better voice, or educate the way you stand up, the way you walk. Both can help you to educate your brain waves in the pattern we need for you to lower anxiety or OCD or the matter that we are working on. So I think people can grasp that because it's easier. It's my experience,
nice.
at least.
Yeah,
And it also shows that it helps to change the way you feel. And that is a proof of the change. So it's a proof you change the way you feel because with the BAUD. Now we don't need to explain all the scientific part of it, but the end result is you feel different when you do BAUD. And that's an important step already.
yes, it is. And so we're going to talk about BAUD some more in our next case. And in the interest of being fair to our next group, I am now going to shift over to our lovely next group. All right, so I'm sorry, I always pronounce area wrong. How do you pronounce area?
Aye.
Aria. Okay, there you go. So I love this case. It's very interesting. It has many different dimensions. So I am going to call on my dear colleague, Sam, to talk about how you would structure the session today with Arya, and which evoke cards do you want to use?
Okay. Well, for today's session, Arye, one thing we're going to be talking about are boundaries, just how essential it is that you feel comfortable in setting limits for other people. The cards we're going to use in terms of the setting boundaries are going to be 32. That is when you're thinking about, when you're overthinking, let's say, or when you're tending to be please somebody without necessity, to stop and then to think things through in that regard. Is this something that you really want? Is this something that you need? Is it coming from you? And in that regard, I would also go into the idea of emphasizing his inner locus of control. Arya is very, he compares himself a lot. He compares himself a lot to others. Particularly, he compares himself to other people who are very rich and who are very, very successful. Most of them at a much later age than he is, but he also has some friends who are also have done very well. But rather than, and then he would feel poorly. Well, let's not go into details, but although he's doing very, very well, he might be less affluent than some of them. So I'd have him look more at the inner locus of control. What does he need? What does he want in this regard? The inner locus of control, and also in making decisions that other people's opinions may have had a very powerful effect on him, and rather to move it towards the inner locus of control. So that card I think would be 40. The next thing that we talk about, Arya, today would be probably regarding destination.
Yeah.
destination, there are a couple of things that I want to talk, that I'd suggest that you think about in terms of destination. One of them would be the idea of when you're thinking, and I remind you that Arya was someone who himself used what is the term, analysis paralysis, that is overthinking. And that in terms of destination, I'd like him to have a look at the impact of what he's thinking rather than the content, in terms of where he's going, in terms of the impact of what he might be, where he's, what he's aiming at, what the impact would be, rather than all sorts of issues related to that. And also in terms of destination, I'd like to talk to him about what good versus great. That you're still a young man, with all due respect. There are many things that you're learning, that you're learning on the job, even though you are the.
What card is that? Good versus
that?
great. What number card is that?
I'm looking at 18.
18.
Good versus great, I don't know. I've written down 18 in terms of destination.
Yeah.
And that it's time that he, he's paying, as I say, he's paying his dues. He's learning on the job how to be a managing director, how to grow the staff, how to develop the staff, and so on. And so that would be the other aspect of the structure of the session today. And one last thing, I'm not sure that I know what the card would be, but I also want to have Arya. I want you to have a look at the victorious. That I don't know to what extent you identify with being a winner, but you're certainly winning. And to have a look at when you have doubt, when you're not sure, and so on and so forth. To identify with that aspect of being victorious, that you're winning. So those are some thoughts I have regarding the way I'd structure the session with Arya today.
Sam, I really like what you just said about winning versus being a winner. You might not feel like a winner today, but you are winning. You said something like that. I think that the going for the destination is really integral to helping him. It's should be something that comes up early, because that's going to be motivating to him. That's motivating. And then backward design, understanding the backward design. Okay. And that's actually very helpful in understanding the process, and then making smaller goals or micro goals to get there, planning it out. And that's a logical way for him to understand how to reach the goals, what you have to do. And I know Gerard might have something to say, but I have to just bring this up because you said it a couple of times, Sam. When we use words like internal locus of control, setting boundaries, two different things, but both very important. They don't know what that means. And oftentimes, even my clients will say, well, people say I need to set better boundaries. And I'll ask them, well, what do you mean by that? And they can't really articulate it. And one way that I go about helping people understand boundaries is to let them see boundaries are expectations. You start with expectations, and it is all wrapped up in goals and destination, because you can't establish boundaries unless you have expectations for yourself and others. This is how I expect to be treated. This is how I expect to be respected. This is what I expect of myself, what I expect of others, how I expect things to turn out. Do you see that? So there's this connection between expectations and setting boundaries. And the expectations have to come first before you can get into let's set boundaries. Does that make sense?
For sure. It's for sure.
Okay. So I want to move on in the interest of time. So we all notice perfectionism in our client here, right? I don't know, is Justine here today? I can't see the screen.
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Justine, do you want to take this? You notice perfectionism in him, and you see this as fueling his anxiety. How do you address your goals as a provider versus his goals?
Okay, so it's interesting because this is something that comes up very often in my own consultations with clients, is this need to always be perfect. And one of the things that I'm going to discuss with him is how important it is to focus on his progress versus perfectionism. Because when we are looking at the bigger picture and again, having a huge expectation of what we want to achieve and also comparing ourselves to what other people may be doing and aren't doing, then the anxiety starts to build. So I would encourage him to, again, just be much more focused on what is in his control and the small steps that he can take in order to reach the goals that he's setting for himself, and also not to set such big goals, but rather to pull it back and to set smaller goals that he can also measure. Sometimes goals are qualitative and sometimes they're quantitative. And if he has a qualitative goal that he needs to be able to measure, whether it's his own inner feelings of how he's managing and coping with the situation, then I would encourage him to maybe do a rating score of an out of 10 of how he feels he has performed on a certain task or how he's managing in a certain area, and be able to track that. Because if he's looking for a quantitative amount in order to see if he's achieving, then that may not always be the feedback that he gets, and then he may feel that he's not getting anywhere, and yet he actually really is. So I would keep bringing it back to smaller goals for him, focusing on progress every day, really giving himself the, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I love Mel Robbins's high five habit, because it really reinforces positive, like a positive feeling for himself in being able to recognize every small step that he takes and be able to give himself the positive reinforcement at every step that he is managing to take the steps to where he's going. I would ask him not to look so broadly. Yes, it's important to have a bigger picture in mind and to have that and work backwards from it. But if he's constantly focusing on what he is not doing, and then he's never going to feel like he's achieving, and his anxiety is going to build. So I'm going to ask him to focus on the things that he can do, what he is able to do, and to give himself the self-appreciation for that every step of the way.
That's great. I love that. Yeah, and focusing on what he can control and what he cannot control.
So, I mean, the card I love for him is 79, which is I'm possible. And I think that for him, if he can use that on a daily basis, you know, that lack of self-confidence is obviously something that runs so deep within him. It's his what's the word I'm looking for? Like his go-to, like when he's in doubt, like it's, I can't do this. When he's in doubt, you know, so having that as a card to focus on, I think would be really beneficial, because it's a word that we always string together as it's impossible. And for him, if we can break that up and say, no, like you can see it a different way, you can see it from the point of view that I am possible and I am doing it. And again, reflecting on what he has done, even if there are things that he may feel he hasn't done perfectly in the past, rather I would give him the tools to be able and encourage him to look at those as lessons and what he can learn from that, as opposed to see them as failures and things that he has to be hard on himself about.
Yes, and I really like that you will point out to him his default mode that he goes to. And one of the things that we're going to do with Mindful Choice is change that default mode to one that's actually beneficial to him, productive, and gets him moving forward, instead of putting the brakes on.
Well, I think for him that the fear state that he gets into, the anxiety that he gets into, it's freezing him. Like,
Yes.
you know, and that's becomes, then he's not productive in his days if he's staying in that freeze state, because there's such anxiety about not getting things done or not doing it perfectly, then he's not moving anywhere. And the action is super important. Just taking action, even if it's imperfect action, is still allowing him to move forward. And that takes him out of that feeling of being so stuck and frozen in place.
Right. So that moves into behavioral activation, and that's why we do the what, not why,
Yes.
to get him to move forward, right?
I would
This-
also, yeah, I would also like to ask him to, sorry, Sherry, carry.
No, go ahead.
I
Go
would
ahead.
also like to ask him to challenge his thoughts. And I used this very effectively with another client of mine the other day, who has a lot of negative thoughts about what she can't do and that she's always going to be stuck. And I like, it's the last Mendy was a lawyer, and I love using this analogy of putting your thoughts on trial, like actually doing a court case. First of all, asking, is this helpful? And second of all, asking you, okay, you've got all of this evidence, like you are prosecuting yourself. Let's build up some evidence for from your defense attorney, because the truth is that it's not all, you know, it's doom and gloom. There's a lot, and all you need is reasonable doubts in order to not get a guilty verdict. So let's build on what the defense attorney can bring to the table and put you in the best light possible. And yes, there's always going to be a prosecutor there, and your prosecutor speaks very, very loudly, but we want to focus on challenging that and getting you to feel that, you know, and focus on what you are doing, not maybe what you aren't doing.
I like that. You've got both sides, the prosecution and the defense. That's wonderful. I think you bring up some really important points. I just want to add that, you know, oftentimes, I can't think of a time when it's not, but when you see your client put the brakes on, it's due to fear. Okay. And I tell clients, you know, you can't let fear drive your car. Okay. It can be in the back seat, but it can't be driving your car. It can't even be sitting in the passenger seat next to you. And I asked them, you know, what are the times like, not a why, but what are the times like when you feel the brakes go on? Or when you put the brakes on?
Like, what are they feeling in their body when that happens, or their thoughts that they
What's that trying to tell you?
Mm.
What's it alerting you to?
Well, it's obviously trying to protect them from something. It's, you know, but it's not helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
How is this serving you? So that's great. Thank you so much, Justine. So I am going to see who wants to go next. Joseph, are you there? Do you want to go next?
Yeah, I don't see him on the call today.
I think only Sam and I are here from our group today.
That's it. Oh my gosh. All right. So listen, I'm going to go back to Sam.
Mhm.
All right, Sam. So I'm just going to skip to this. Sam, what homework would you have him do in between sessions, and explain why? Pretend that I'm RA and ask, you know, you're going to give him some strategies and quote homework to work on between the sessions. What would you do, and how would you explain it to him?
To a large degree, I'd have him working on on his breathing and on relaxation. We'll probably in the session also have a look at expanding his exhalation. And I like that idea of breathing into the heart. In other words, cutting out the whole thing of the mind and so on, and all the thoughts and other things that might be restricting the breathing, and practice breathing into the heart, directly into the heart. And that's to practice that during the week, including some meditation. He does do some yoga, so to keep with his yoga, to keep with his relaxation practices. Beyond the ideas of breathing and relaxation, I'd like, when I emphasize to him that he doesn't have to be in survival mode, even though he's a young man, he's alive, he's living, he's proven that he has survived already. And in that regard, he can move away, he can think about, change his way of looking at, be more aware that a lot of his, well, let's not say a lot, but too much of his way of acting is to stay in survival mode. And that would be in two aspects, particularly at work, regarding his work, where he's always checking the latest charts and the graphs and the messages, and with that sense that he has to reply as soon as possible, immediately to some possible clients and so on, and to play with the idea during the week that, well, I am living, I am alive, I have survived, I'm going to continue to survive, and to do what to be alive. He does have many various, he has various areas of interest, and to keep to them during the week, rather than to be how did I put it, to be stuck at the demands of work. So those are a few thoughts I have about the homework that I would send him off to do.
Okay, what about also with that, homework about the best life scenario and writing down or journaling, what would be his best life scenario 5 years from now? And that's one way of looking at destination, but also getting content, qualitative information about really what he wants. And in that best life scenario, that anxiety might not be there. And that coincides with also working with the what ifs. What if you were free from this anxiety? What would your life be like?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, we talked a little bit about, maybe it could have been on Thursday, but utilizing the what if scenario. Imagine your life without this burden.
Okay, I'm hearing you, thinking about it.
So I'm going to now, I know you really like the breathing, and I love how you said the breathing into the heart. That's beautiful. I'm going to steal that. Okay, Sam.
You do that.
Okay, so since, no one else is here, so I'm going to go back to Justine. Justine, pretend that I'm him and explain to me how I can focus on the solutions and not the problems. How do I actually do that? It's like you might have him say, I hear what you're saying, I just don't know how to do it. Because you might hear that frequently from your clients already.
Absolutely. So, Aria, it's so normal to focus on what you fear and what you think is not working. I think it's your brain naturally goes to that place because you're trying to prevent failure. You're trying to prevent yourself from making mistakes. And it's okay. It's natural that it goes there, but it's not helping you, and it's not allowing you to be as present in your company, because you are so worried about what will go wrong that you're not focusing on what is actually going right. And you really do have the skills and tools in order to be able to make this successful. I'd like you to give me an example of something that you have done in the last week or month that was a big win for you, or even a small win for you, something business related where there was a problem that you were able to solve and that you really saw yourself excel in that moment. Can you think of a situation like that?
That's very empowering, that question that you asked. I really love that. We know, and we have so many evoke cards. Can you think of some that come to mind that you would use in explaining that?
Wow, that's a hard one. There's so many. Okay, I think the stop is a big one.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's really as relevant for this now.
I'm
Okay.
thinking of
I would
some.
ask him to put his right thinking hat on.
Oh, okay.
Okay, his objective hat. Okay, because I think when he's worried about the problems and the failure, he's not being objective. He is completely emotional in that moment. So I would want him to change hats. To
Okay.
say, okay, if you want to worry, that's fine. You can put your worry hat on another time and we can write down all of those worries and you can have space for that. But right now, let's put on the objective hat. Let's put on the solution-driven hat and let's think from that hat right now and give him the ability to realize that he doesn't have to stay stuck in one way of thinking, that he can actually like put on a different hat depending on what he's trying to achieve and be able to get the solution, because then he's accessing his more logical side of his brain as opposed to the emotional fear-driven part.
That's great. I love how you use the hats. I don't think we've had anyone use the hats this week. So that's great. You're the first one. Thank you.
It shows that you have looked.
Before we leave, is that the cards are there for you, not just the client. And you might choose the hats. I might choose another set of cards. In my personal practice, I use the tunnel vision effect a lot and focus on the solutions a lot. And, you know, the green and red door a lot. We all will develop our own style as clinicians, and that's fine. It's what you find more effective for yourself in communicating the messaging to your client. But there are wonderful resources out there. You can also introduce some of the free resources on the videos on what is mindful choice, and that I find to be very helpful. So now I want to shift it. These are all for you. Remember, we have training and resources available to you all. Please use them. We love it when you all use them. They're there for you. Next time it's going to be for Cody. So Cody, do you want to explain this and when your session is? I'll hold it about first of all, just mark this on your calendar, right? June 22nd and the 25th. Those are her days, Sunday the 25th.
There'll be no change. There'll be no change.
Another change.
And I think because of the time.
Wait. No, Gerard, Cody's talking.
No, those are the dates I can do the supervision. So please, if you can join to those dates, because I had the personal impediment. So I'll be glad to do my supervision at that date. And if you can do the effort, I'll be very thankful. And as you said, Sherry, for my supervision, I would like to start, because when we have like all the Evo cards, we can't introduce all of them. And I believe, as Sherry said before, each of us, we decide about, there is one card of two that we start working with them. They work with us. They have a message for us and for the clients. So for me, I would like to see like one of them, in the case we worked it before, if you could point one or two of the Evo cards, then they did like the aha moment in your case. Because I'm trying to see like if we can synthesize the work, because those are like our turning points in the treatment. And I think it's a very good way of going, also for us as therapists, as coaches, as step by step. You don't need to use all the cards, as you said before. Start working with some of them. So to see in the case we worked before, if you can, every group can point one or two that they did like the turning point for them. And another question is, in your personal life and in your professional job, if you can start applying one or two of them, because I'm sure that we can have a very powerful tool as mindful choice, but if we don't use it, if we don't believe on it, we don't have the power of getting to the client. Here you have a powerful choice. I see a powerful tool. I see many of my clients, and when they come to me, they say, I applied everything, I tried everything. I don't know if you could help me. So if we are not very powerful, very precise about what we have, and very honest, we don't do magic, but we have a very good tool, a very good experience. We have here a group of trainers, a group of good professionals that they can help. And we have a very innovative, and it's scientific proof. So I think this could be a good questions for start debating.
Great, Cody, that's so wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. It's
Thank you, Sherry.
so helpful. So
I hope
thank
so.
you. I'm looking forward to your supervision.
Thank
So
you.
Gerard,
Thank
do you want to close today? And say
I
thank
would like
you.
to share with you, if there is someone telling something, I would like to share with you, because of Ari's case about perfectionism, I would like to share with you, because I was walking in a street market and it was about handmade utensils and objects. And close to every price, it was a tag. If you see an imperfection, it's not that. It's the proof that everything is unique and handmade. And I thought it's worth it to have it as a human being. I would like to have that tag on me also.
Oh, I love that. You just gave us a really positive note to end today's session on. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Oh
guys.
my gosh.
Thank you.
So much. It's been such
Bye-bye.
a
Thank you,
delight
Sherry.
seeing
You
you.